What's happening, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for your advanced look at the Venom by Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman Omnibus from Marvel Comics. So, let's get started. Before getting started, a huge thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks in Marvel for sending us an advance copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on December 13th. And speaking of direct market and book market, what we're looking at here is the direct market cover. On the left-hand side is your standard edition cover. Of course, the standard edition one is available everywhere. The direct market cover will only be available at places like cheapgraphicnovels.com, waltzcomicshop.com, Comics Bugle, Dime Breed Collectors, Organic Price Books, In-Stock Trades, Tales of Wonder, and places like that. Let's shift the focus back to this book right here, because everything underneath the dust jacket is the same, with the exception of the cover and the spine right there. This will change how you think about Venom forever. That statement is true, because there are some changes that happen through here. You have the creators down here: Donny Cates, Ryan Stegman, Mark Bagley, who I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, Iban Coelho, the Marvel logo, the Stegman cover, and then the spine of the book right there, Venom. I'm honestly surprised they didn't go with Venom Omnibus by Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman like they've been doing the previous 3 volumes. And hopefully one day we'll get a Venomnibus, or Agent Venomnibus rather. And there in the back is the King in Black himself, Null. Parental advisory, and I think that has a lot to do with the violence, especially found through the pages of Absolute Carnage and King in Black. The book retails for $125. Up here we have a little blurb: the Venom comic every fan of the character has ever wanted, a startling evolution of the Venom mythos. It does add a lot to the Venom mythos. Underneath the dust jacket, actually let's look at the flaps right here. Venom, God is coming, and oh my gosh, they really lay that thick from the beginning. The creators here on the right hand side. But underneath the dust jacket, we have this image of a symbiote dragon. No Venom anywhere in sight. Or is he in the back somewhere? Alright, we're going to crack this open. We're going to talk about the premise of the book. Not really diving into any spoilers, with the exception of Null and the things that lead up to the King in Black, because that is what ends this particular omnibus. And I've already done a video on the King in Black omnibus, so if you want to go back and check that out, I'll put the link above. But just in case, minor spoilers for this, maybe a little bit of the setup of Absolute Carnage, and who the character of Dylan is, because he does play an important part in, actually, most of this leading up to King in Black. Alright, let's crack it open, check out the artwork, and then talk about the build, of course. Alright, let's crack this open. Black end paper there, and Venom. Years ago, tells you a little bit about who Venom is, who Eddie Brock is. Then you have all the credits here. The main writer, of course, being Donny Cates. David Michelinie does do a story in here with Ron Lim doing the artwork. Jeff Loveness doing that particular story right here. Nobody Does It Better. Stoppables by James Stokoe. But for the most part, it is Donny Cates writing the entirety of the book. And you have different artists, mainly Ryan Stegman, who of course shares the credit with Donny Cates for this omnibus. And here's some more credit for the people that created this book, including all the artists in Venom number 35, which ends this particular omnibus. And there's a little bit of confusion, I know, when I did the trade paperback overview, that Venom 35 is also Venom 200. So people were worried that Venom 35 was left out of the last trade paperback because they had Venom 200. Here is an introduction by Donny Cates, talking about how much he loved his time on Venom and what it meant to him. And we are Venom. I love that. It's a nice little send-off. Alright, so kicking it off with issue number 1, but this is the 2018 issue number 1 of Venom. We've had a lot of Venom number 1s, but this is the one that started in 2018. So this collects issues 1 through 35 of the 2018 series. Venom Annual number 1, Web of Venom Van Am. Did I say that right? Van Am? It's a Vietnam story. We also have Carnage Born, which is part of the Web of Venom story, and Wraith, which is also part of the Web of Venom story. Absolute Carnage 1 through 5, King in Black 1 through 5, and then material from Free Comic Book Day 2019 Spider-Man Venom, Free Comic Book Day 2020 Spider-Man Venom, and then material from Incoming 1 and Carnage, Black, White, and Blood, number 2. The book has 1,352 pages. And again, retails for $125. Now, for the people that are keeping tabs and have messaged me, which route should I take? Should I get the King in Black Omnibus? Should I get this? Really, it's up to you. I am nobody to tell you what to buy. But I do want to make one thing clear, just to clarify this. If you have these 3 oversized hardcovers, these Venom by Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman hardcovers, pretty much have the 35-issue series, with the exception of issues 13 through 15. Those are missing from those oversized hardcovers, and those are included in here. But if you have the War of the Realms omnibus, those issues are included in there because they're War of the Realm tie-ins, and they're not written by Donny Cates. As a matter of fact, if you go back here, you'll see that Venom 13 through 15 are written by Cullen Bunn. But more about that here in a second. Alright, so what is this series about? Why did it change so much of Venom and who the character of Eddie Brock is with Venom? So this is a really interesting take on Venom. What Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman do is really build up this character of the King in Black, the king of the symbiotes, the god of the symbiotes, and how he's coming to Earth when he finds out that this is where a lot of his symbiotes are. So we have this character of Rex who informs Eddie Brock that he was not the first person on Earth to have had the symbiote. Of course, we know that symbiote originally bonded with Spider-Man Peter Parker, but apparently there was an experiment done during the Vietnam War where a bunch of soldiers were bonded to the symbiotes, including this guy right here, Rex, who went by, I think it was Tyrannosaurus, I think. It's a cool code name. But he tells him about this secret that the government has been working on, and Venom doesn't really want to believe him, so he sends him out on a mission. It's almost like a suicide mission, and he sees these particular symbiotes. Now, they're speaking a different language, and his symbiote of Venom gets scared and runs away and kind of leaves him for dead. So he gets freaked out a little bit because there's this secret. Like, why is he so scared of these particular symbiotes? Like, what makes him so different than any of the other symbiotes they faced in the past? Like, Toxin or Carnage or Scream, characters like that. So the more you get to find out about the symbiote's past, the more you get to find out about Eddie's past too. Because Eddie does have a tragic story here. He's contemplated suicide. He was moments from committing suicide, and that's how him and the symbiote originally bonded. He went through cancer, and for a while he was taken off of the books because, well, just like everything that happens in comics, he died for a bit and then he comes back. So the Venom symbiote went on and used other people as hosts, such as Matt Gargan. And all of that comes to play here when we get to Absolute Carnage. There's a huge team-up with Miles Morales early on, and both of them get to see for the first time who the King in Black is. This is Null, a character that was first introduced in the pages of Jason Aaron's Thor, God of Thunder. And we get a background story of this character right here. Now, you can find out how they're fighting him, because most people didn't think he came to Earth until the King in Black storyline. Well, you can read it and find out exactly how they're able to fight him. Now, we get to find out more and more about Rex, his past, and we get to find out that there's a secret military experiment, and of course Nick Fury had something to do with it. This is the Web of Venom right here. We keep going back. This is the annual where different characters tell stories about Venom and how he's fought different Marvel characters throughout the past. Of course, taking place in like miniseries or Marvel Comics Premiere. But I love that flashback. And then we get this really, really rough character arc right here. The story arc right here that features Venom going back home and visiting his father. And when he does, he finds out that his father has another son named Dylan. Now, Dylan plays a big important part in all of this because he's connected to everything. There's something special about that kid, which I mentioned in The King in Black. It's not that big of a spoiler, but just in case if you haven't read this and you want to go into it completely blind, I respect that. So I'm not going to go into detail as to who Dylan is. But know that Dylan plays a huge, important part in the story moving forward. Now, here you get to find out a heartbreaking secret about Eddie Brock. He's kind of mentioned in the past, but we didn't really get to see in detail. But here, the Venom symbiote makes him have these flashbacks, reliving these horrible moments that have happened in his life and the horrible abuse that he's faced with his father. Then we have the character of the Maker show up. The Maker, of course, is Reed Richards from the Ultimate Universe that kind of went bad and has a big giant brain, but he plays a big important part moving forward in all of this. And I'm not going to go through each storyline. I'm just going to flip through the artwork here so you can see most of it, of course, done by Ryan Stegman, but then Iban Coelho doing a lot of the fill-in art. No, actually, Iban Coelho doing this. This is the War of the Realms story arc, where Venom was being manipulated by Malekith and all of the villains that played a big part in this big War of the Realms. But he's changed a little bit, and you can find out why by reading that particular series. So after the events of War of the Realms, we start seeing Carnage play a big role. And it was actually going back here to the Web of Venom, Carnage Born, this one shot right here. We get to see a cult that's trying to resurrect Cletus Cassidy. Here he is pretending to be Eddie Brock at this prison. This is from the Free Comic Book Day story. But this is Lee Price. He was a character that had Venom for a while, and he rips the Codex out of Lee Price. Carnage, Cletus Cassidy pretending to be Eddie Brock. And he realizes in that Web of Venom, Carnage Born, that by taking these codex, he is more complete, he is more powerful, he is more in tune with the other symbiotes. So that's what Absolute Carnage is. He's going through the Marvel Universe, ripping the codex out of anybody that has ever had contact with a symbiote. And there's a lot of people, including characters like, of course, Peter Parker and Wolverine, Hawkeye, just to name a few, but there's a ton of characters. Now, the full event is not in here. It is just Absolute Carnage and the Venom issues. Spider-Man issues are not included in here. There is an omnibus. My gosh, look at this artwork, especially towards the back here. I love those colors they use here. Like, Carnage is just a whole new level right now. And in between issues of Absolute Carnage are the issues of Venom. So mainly focusing on Dylan and Normie Osborn, who of course also had the Codex, and the Maker's in charge of taking care of them. We also have the return of a character. Was it Mike Costa's run or was it Colin Bunn's run that appeared during their run? Sleeper, who now takes the shape of will take the shape of a cat. And then we keep going back and forth between Absolute Carnage and Venom. Now, that's something that I did want to go ahead and state, that the mapping in here is perfect. There's nothing I would have done differently mapping the issues here. It is done with care. It is done taking into consideration that people haven't read these stories and they want to read them in chronological reading order, not chronological release order. So that is something very important to me, because Absolute Carnage Omnibus actually had the issues of Venom in between. And there was a couple of other issues that I had in between, but everything else was in the back. I wish they had the Spider-Man issues at least in between there too, but the King in Black, whenever I did my overview, you'll see that the Venom issues are after the King in Black storyline. I feel like you miss something so big when that happens, when they did that. This is the Wraith One Shot right here. Now, we haven't seen Wraith in a long time. This is a character that was first introduced through the pages of Annihilation Conquest. And you can see that the variant covers are collected on the opposite side of the standard edition covers. They're done in thumbnail size most of the time. 99% of the time when they're collected on the opposite side of the standard edition cover, they are in thumbnails. But this is the character of Wraith, who of course has ties to symbiotes, and this kicks off the, hey, by the way, Null is coming. Now, after the events of Absolute Carnage, Eddie Brock has to go and exile himself. He has to be away from everybody, and you can find out exactly why. He goes on an island. It's not the first time he's been on an island. He warns the Avengers that, this is the story right here by David Michelinie and Ron Lim. He warns the Avengers that, hey, there's a King in Black. It's the god of the symbiotes, and he's coming to Earth. Then he meets Virus for this quick story arc where he and Dylan are transported to another universe. Now, after they leave that universe, they come back, and that's when we get, again, thumbnail variants on the opposite side of the standard edition cover. We get the King in Black. And I've gone into more detail than I will here about what the King in Black is, but the way that the Venom issues are collected in here is immediately after the King in Black, after the symbiote is ripped from Eddie Brock by Null, the god of the symbiote, and he is thrown off the side of the building. We kick off with Venom, the return of Rex Strickland, who's the character that, of course, showed up in the first issue, and it was like, hey, you're not the first symbiote, there have been others. But that's where this is mapped. So this is mapped great. This is mapped awesome. You have the characters fighting Venom and his King in Black and his dragons, and you can find out how that fight ends by reading the book. Just showing a couple of pages from issue 35, because I can't go into too much detail, but this is the final issue. This is the last issue that Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman worked on. As a matter of fact, Stegman does the last 8 pages of the book. I can't show those because that really sets up where Venom goes from here. But I'm just showcasing some of the other artists that helped on this book. By the way, one thing I forgot to mention is that this Venom Island storyline is all drawn by Mark Bagley. That's why his name is on the cover. Like, the entire story arc is all drawn by Mark Bagley, who is no stranger to Spider-Man or Venom. Alright, let's look at the back first. And actually, the very last thing that's collected here is the Carnage story from the Carnage Black, White, and Blood. And it's a story that can be read at any time. It took place maybe in the past, or it could have taken place during Absolute Carnage. I think this is a good place to actually map or put the book in this particular omnibus. So extras, we have a lot of variants. Again, some of them are in thumbnails. Actually, most of them are in thumbnails. We have some sketches and character designs. We have the Absolute Carnage issue number 1 through 5. This is the backup stuff, including Cletus Cassidy's name right here, the date of birth, 04/07/93, which of course makes me feel old as crap. But the patient number I find interesting is that is ASM 010361. So of course that's Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1, Issue 361, which is his first appearance, his first full appearance. And then we have the date that it came out, which is April 7th, 1993. I was in high school. So thank you, Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman, for making me feel old. But this is kind of the Raymond Croft files on these characters that show up through Absolute Carnage. We have the Daily Bugle story there. And this is a trade, not a trade paperback, I'm sorry. It's like a Marvel Tales, not a hardcover or a trade, but it just pretty much reprints a couple of issues of Venom that lead into King in Black. So, reprinting Venom 3 and 4, and Web of Venom Carnage Born, and the lead story of Venom 25. That's what it is. And then you have the 200 Venom cover gallery. So, all of the issues, including the Venom by Donny Cates, and then when it's renumbered to issue number 200. One thing I will say about these scans is that they are a little rough. They might be my old age, but they just feel like they were scanned, and the colors are all muddled. Some of them are a little bit blurry. And it could be, of course, tiny little sizes that they are. But that's it. That's the entire book. Let's take a look at the binding. 1,352 pages, and there is that eye. It is sewn binding. Didn't have a single issue with the book. I was actually reading it while we were driving to visit some family. The way that it lays over towards the front and towards the back of the book. And then I think you saw the way it lays over in the middle. Actually, this is a good example. So you do have just a little bit of a gutter loss right there. The book is printed at the iMac printer, but the paper stock that they're using in this, it's like the Donny printer they've been using lately. So not a lot of bleed through coming from the other side, but I mean, if you look at the colors here, they're all dark, so you don't really have that many white panels for me to judge. So I really didn't notice, but that's just me. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this book, don't forget to check out our sponsors. If you live in Europe and are interested in buying and pre-ordering Omnis, then you should definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices for Marvel and DC books within the EU, flat rate shipping of €12 for all EU countries, bulletproof packaging, and all emails will be answered within 24 hours. They offer a huge selection of out-of-print books. Just head over to waltzcomicshop.com for more great deals and rare titles. And for a limited time, you can use the code NEARMINTCONDITION, all one word at the checkout, to get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order of over €40. Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. Let me know in the comments down below if you are picking this up, if you have the previous Venomnibus volumes rather, 1, 2, and 3. Are you picking up the King in Black instead of this and keeping the oversized hardcovers? I would love to know all those answers in the comments down below. If you have any questions, leave your questions down below. Check out our Patreon. We have different tiers starting at $1. And we are also on Spreadshop where you can find our logo on stickers and hats. And we have different shirt designs. But everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.